You got a raise this year, 3%, maybe 4% if you negotiated well. Inflation dropped to 2%. You did the math? You're winning now, right? So why does your bank account still feel like it's bleeding? Here's the thing nobody's telling you. When prices stop rising, you don't go back to normal. You stay broken. And today, we're going to walk through exactly why that is. Let's rewind to 2019. You're making $50,000 a year. A grocery run costs you $80. Rent is $1,400 a month. Gas is $2.50 a gallon. You're not rich, but the numbers work. You've got a little left over at the end of the month. Maybe you save some, maybe you don't. Either way, you're stable. Then 2021 hits. Prices start climbing, not slowly, fast. By 2023, the same grocery run costs $130. Your rent is $1,900. Gas hit $4 and change. Your $50,000 salary? Still $50,000. Now it's 2025. Inflation has cooled. The news says we've won. The Federal Reserve is taking a victory lap. Prices aren't rising as fast anymore. But you're still drowning, and everyone around you is pretending the crisis is over. Here's what actually happened, and this is where the math gets cruel. Inflation doesn't measure prices, it measures the rate at which prices change. When inflation drops from 8% to 2%, that doesn't mean prices went down. It means they're still going up, just slower. Imagine you're in a car accelerating toward a cliff. Inflation is your speed. When inflation drops, you're not reversing. You're not even hitting the brakes. You're just easing off the gas. You're still moving forward, still heading toward the edge. So when inflation was 8% in 2022 and prices jumped from $100 to $108, you took the hit. Then in 2023, inflation was 4%. Prices didn't go back to 100. They went from 108 to 112. This year, inflation is 2%. Prices are now 114. You never recovered. You just stopped losing as fast. And here's the kicker. Your salary didn't keep pace during the surge. Most people got raises between 3 and 5% during the worst of it. You were falling behind in real time. Now that inflation has cooled, employers aren't handing out catch-up raises. They're going back to normal 2 or 3% bumps, maybe less. You're playing a game where the prices jumped 30% in 3 years, but your paycheck only went up 12%. That gap? That's not coming back. And the absurd part is how we talk about it. Turn on the news, and you'll hear economists celebrating. Inflation is under control. The soft landing worked. The economy is resilient. They're measuring success by whether the rate of increase slowed down, not by whether people can actually afford their lives. It's like celebrating that a flood is rising more slowly while everyone's still underwater. But it gets worse, because there's a second layer to this, something called nominal loss aversion. It's a fancy term for a simple human truth. We hate taking pay cuts, even when it makes sense, even when it's fair. So here's what happens. Prices spike, companies absorb higher costs, but when inflation cools and costs stabilize, those companies don't lower prices. They can't, because if they tried to cut wages to rebalance things, workers would riot. And if they cut prices without cutting wages, their margins collapse. So prices stay elevated, permanently, and everyone just kind of accepts it. The new floor becomes the old ceiling, and we move on. Except you're still stuck with a salary that never caught up. Let's put real numbers to this. Say you made $60,000 in 2020. To keep the same purchasing power today, you'd need to make about $78,000. That's a 30% jump. Did you get a 30% raise since 2020? Almost certainly not. The average worker got cumulative raises of maybe 15%, 20% if they job hopped aggressively. That means the average person is 10 to 15% poorer than they were 5 years ago. Not because they're making less money, but because their money buys less life. And here's where it gets even darker. The people hit hardest are the ones who couldn't switch jobs, who stayed loyal to one company, who didn't have the leverage to negotiate, who were in industries that don't pay competitively. If you're in tech or finance, maybe you clawed back some ground. But if you're a teacher, a retail worker, a mid-level office employee at a stagnant company, you got buried. and no amount of "inflation is cooling" headlines is going to unbury you. The system didn't fail. It worked exactly as designed. Inflation always transfers wealth from people who hold cash and earn wages to people who own assets and set prices. The wealth didn't disappear, it just moved. So what happens next? One of three things. Option 1, wages catch up. Companies start handing out big raises to rebalance the scales. This almost never happens. It requires labor to have massive leverage, and right now, leverage is fading. Unemployment is ticking up. Hiring is slowing. Workers are losing negotiating power. Option 2, deflation. Prices actually fall. This sounds great until you realize that deflation destroys economies. It makes debt unbearable. It kills spending. It turns recessions into depressions. No central bank wants this. They'll do everything in their power to avoid it. Option 3, we just live here now. Prices stay elevated. Wages grow slowly. The gap becomes permanent. People adjust their expectations. They buy less, save less, retire later. And we all just pretend this is fine. That third option, that's the most likely one. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. The system doesn't care if you feel poorer. It cares if the economy keeps growing. And right now, GDP is up. Corporate profits are strong. The stock market is near record highs. Everything is fine. For someone. So yeah, you got your raise. Inflation cooled. The crisis is over, they say. But your groceries still cost 50% more than they did 5 years ago. Your rent still eats half your paycheck. And that raise you got, it didn't even cover the damage. The prices stopped rising as fast, but you never stopped falling behind. And the question nobody wants to answer is this. If cooling inflation doesn't fix the problem, what does? Because right now, we're all just waiting for normal to come back. But what if normal has already left, and this is what we get instead? If this made you realize something you've been feeling but couldn't quite explain, share it with someone who needs to hear it. They're probably wondering why they're struggling too. And if you want more breakdowns that actually explain why your money doesn't work the way it used to, subscribe, because the game keeps changing, and most people explaining it are either lying or confused. Hit the like button if you made it this far. It tells me you want more of this, and honestly, there's a lot more to unpack.